it's Vesper Starwolf as Morningstar here with another video. And today I'm going to cover my top 5 favorite Webtoons comics. I actually really like webcomics, and I'm starting to get back into reading them again. I might even be making my own. So yeah, I wanted to just make a top 5 video of my favorite ones on Webtoons right now. These are not all Webtoons originals. There are comics that are on Canvas here, which is basically, if you don't know, Webtoons originals are comics that basically Webtoons will pick up and start paying the creators, and they kind of are only allowed to be on Webtoons. The Canvas ones are from everyday Joes like you and me. They don't get paid for their work, but they just use Webtoons as a platform to post, and their comic could be on other platforms as well. Just thought I'd cover that real quick. Also, disclaimer, I am terrible with names. Even though these are like my favorite webcomics, I probably won't be able to tell you the main characters' names. In most of them. So I apologize for that. I don't know, they just don't sink in. Sometimes I can remember their names, but even the ones that I read like all the time will not be able to tell you the character's name. So I apologize for that. And also, this list is constantly changing, and it's very roughly my favorites. Like, you could honestly kind of rearrange most of these, except for maybe like the first 2. And who knows, I could read like a new comic in a couple weeks, and that'll shoot that new comic up like into my top 5. So it's kind of wishy-washy. But currently, this is my list. So, number 5 is Blades of Furry by Dea Muniz and Emily Erdos. Sorry if I butchered those names. It's a furry webcomic about professional ice skaters, but with like a twist, because it's like battle skating. You know, they'll figure skate 2-on-2 and they get points, but they like fight each other. It's wild. But they are furries, and it is also kind of a romance with LGBT characters. The main character is a deer boy whose name I remember being like Emil. It might be pronounced Emily, but I think it's Emil. And a fruit bat named Radu. The main plot is basically this romance around these two, but also Radu is harboring a secret. It's not really like a spoiler, but I will say just watch out for spoilers in these reviews just in case. But Radu is a vampire bat, and the thing about this professional skating is that it's illegal for vampires to join in and be the professional skaters, because vampiric animals, so you know, animals that drink blood like vampire bats and a few other animals, are heavily discriminated against in this society, because they view vampires much like how we do, you know, blood-sucking night murder beasts. Even though that's not exactly true. So, you know, they're trying to balance this like romance while keeping things on the down low about Radu being a vampire. It's just a really interesting and original concept to me, blending all of these elements, and somehow they really work. So that's why I really enjoy this comic. So number 4 is Air's Game by Suspoo. This originally was much higher, but as I read other comics, it's kind of lower, but I still really love it. I've also read Suspoo's other comic, Shoot Around, which I also really enjoyed. Suspoo has a really good way of doing characters. I don't know, all their characters are very human, and I just really enjoy the stories that they tell. So Air's game is about this kingdom type place where a competition is held to determine who will be the bodyguard of the current heir to the kingdom, and they'll follow that person like throughout their life being their bodyguard. So this is also like a political drama romance type thing, because I forget their names, which I apologize for, but the main characters are the current heir, and then Isran, which is one of the people in the Heir's game, working to become the next guard. And there's a lot of different characters that are kind of like working to this goal, and a lot of sketchy behavior going on. I'm sorry, I'm terrible at describing things, because there's so much in Heir's game, you really have to read it. But it is also a romance, because the current heir and Isran meet, and they're into each other, so this is another LGBT comic. It's gay, and I really enjoy it, because I have a thing for royalty stories and romances that involve royalty, like princes, queens, kings, princesses, all that. I don't know if I look like the type of person, but I'm really into those, especially if it's gay, because the drama, the suspense, and like, because like royalty with non-royalty, the drama, the suspense, I just really like that kind of thing. Anyway, so number 3 is probably the newest one I started reading recently, which is Abdomen by Illustrarian. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's basically about a girl who's arranged to be married to this really creepy priest dude. Like, he's old and gross, and we don't like him. He sucks. And so, you know, heavily religious type of thing going on. You know, everyone's super religious and stuff. But there's this statue in a graveyard that she visits often, and at night it actually comes to life because it's like a gargoyle, and it's a bromance. Surprise, surprise, Vesper likes romance in this house. But yes, it's a romance between this demon and this girl. Oh, the art's so beautiful. I just really like it. There's still not a lot into this one, but I highly recommend it. The main, like, really interesting thing I like that they do in this is that the gargoyles were actually demons that were bound by, like a priest or something, and forced to do their bidding. These priests would use the gargoyles, which were once demons, to basically slaughter their enemies or people that would practice other religions. It's super interesting, and the art is gorgeous. Again, highly recommend. I won't get too into it. And the cat's cute, so. So number 2 is I Hope So by Detective Gallico. This one's really interesting because these two, that RJ and Kat, have been very active in like the artist community and stuff. I've followed RJ for ever since like DeviantArt days, and this comic is kind of like a response to the web series My Pride. There's some drama there that I won't get into. I highly recommend RJ's video that they did on My Pride. It's was pretty informative. But anyway, I Hope So is a webcomic about society of lions, and one of them, Hope, is born with only 3 legs. And this is basically a death sentence in this society. She gets discriminated against, and overall this comic is about overcoming adversity and all the things that come with being discriminated against. And the art style is super colorful, and I just really like how they do everything. And the characters all have varying designs despite them all being lions. It's very imaginative. There's just something about it that makes it fun to read. Like, I'm always, with a lot of comics, I'm like, okay, this is long. Let's get this over with. But with I Hope So, I want it to be longer. Yeah. And so it's another one I highly recommend. It's also got LGBT characters. Probably a little romance, but it hasn't really dived far into that. So for once, well, I can't say that because they're probably gonna have some romance, because there are multiple characters where, because you know, the main character and this other lioness definitely got something going on. So anyway, now it's time for my number 1 favorite Webtoons comic, and this one is definitely my number 1. Anyone who knows me probably wouldn't be surprised, but anyway, my number 1 favorite comic is Castle Swimmer by Wendy Leanne Martin. Oh my gosh. I love Castle Swimmer so much. Oh my gosh. So essentially, Castle Swimmer is a webcomic about mermaids. And there's one special mermaid that was created by the god of the surface called the Beacon. His name is Kappa. And he basically goes around to each castle, hence the title Castle Swimmer. And he's led by this beam of light. Essentially each castle, which is like different mermaid species, each castle has their own prophecy, and he basically gets yanked around against his will and is forced to fulfill these prophecies. So he ends up at the Shark Kingdom, which they're kind of hidden away because the sharks have a curse by a meta god. And essentially they just have horrible bad luck. They're all covered in scars. They constantly are just cursed to basically die. They've lost so many of their people because they just have like final destination scenarios keep happening to them. So he ends up at this castle, and he's basically locked away because in their prophecy, the prince, whose name is Siren, is destined to kill the Beacon, Kappa. And Siren don't want to do that. He's like a good boy. But he ends up visiting Kappa in his prison cell repeatedly, and the two grow very close. If you paid attention to my other listings, you know where this is going. So the two get feelings for one another. And it's basically, there's a lot. And the two essentially have to deal with their feelings while also, having this curse that needs to be broken. But the only way is if Siren kills Kappa. But there's so much more to it, and it goes so deeper. Currently, there's 2 seasons out, and the plot goes a lot deeper than what I've said. That's just the non-spoiler free version. So anyway, that's my current list. There's probably going to be a lot more webcomics that I enjoy coming out in the future, as always. So yeah, tell me what your favorite webcomics are. I'd love to hear it. I'd love to check out any webcomics I haven't seen that sound interesting to me. I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!